The smart people of the world agree that Jesus was a real person. He did exist. He did walk the earth in the Middle East. Oh, this is a big one. Everybody wants to know, is Jesus real? Well, the fact of the matter is that kind of the only ones who wondering if Jesus is real is like just the common person. But when you talk to historians almost across the globe, anybody who takes Middle East history seriously believe that Jesus was actually a real person that walked this earth. And the reason they believe that is the evidence that was left behind outside of the Bible, outside of Christianity, the evidence that was left behind. There's 3 historians around the time of Jesus who wrote about a person named Jesus. There was one guy, a Jewish historian by the name of Josephus. He talked about this person named Jesus with a brother named James. There was 2 Roman historians, Pliny and Tacitus. They referenced a guy named Jesus that was condemned to death by a guy named Pontius Pilate. So we have some of those confirmations. Was there any archaeological evidence from Jesus' life? Most Jewish peasant men of the time would not have left behind any archaeological evidence that would have survived. The famous emperors, guys who were wealthy, they would have left behind statues, temples, large buildings, all that kind of stuff. Jesus had none of that. So it's kind of no surprise that there was no archaeological evidence that we found yet, but archaeology is also young, and they've only explored like 5% of the Middle East in terms of archaeology. But what we do know is the archaeology that matches things in the Bible that were talked about. So the places, the wells, the cities, the temples, those are all real places that we have found archaeologically. And finally, the Bible is actually a super reliable place to hear about this person named Jesus. And it's not so much that Jesus talked about himself, left records of himself, but it was the people that wrote about him who would have had a heck of a time fabricating and continuing a lie about a person named Jesus. They wouldn't have been able to perpetuate that because they wrote at the time that he existed or shortly afterwards. And so anything that they wrote that would have been false would have been quickly read and be like, hey, time out. This didn't actually happen. All of those things have survived over the years. We have more literal, like scriptural, like written down parchments, fragments of parchments found. We have more referencing Jesus and the Bible, scraps of the Bible, than virtually any other historical figure across time. So is Jesus a real person? Well, yes. The smart people of the world agree that Jesus was a real person. He did exist. He did walk the earth in the Middle East. The real question is, and it's one that Jesus posed to one of his closest followers, Peter. He said, Peter, who do you say that I am? And I think that's a super relevant question. Who do you say Jesus is? Is he just a real person? Was he actually the person that he claimed to be? And that was the Son of God. Stop Googling God. Ask a real person. If you are a middle school student or a high school student and you're interested in questions about faith and life, visit my website, creedcast.com. If you work with middle school or high school students, teaching them about faith and life, I got some things for you too. Visit creedcast.com. Love to connect with you guys.